Matt, I'm here from the Primal Eating blog, which is called PRIMAL Provenance, which is in relation to the paleo lifestyle and cooking for that lifestyle. I'm going to be taking you through today a recipe for almond butter slabs, which is something I haven't really tried before, but it's an adaptation of a recipe I have tried quite a few times. The ingredients for this are half a cup of almond flour. Now, cup size, we're talking about normally American cups, however I just go for normal cups because all the ratios work out eventually and the recipe comes good. So it's half a cup of almond flour, half a cup of almond butter. You can get a decent kilo of butter for $9.99 from My Protein, should you require it. 2 cups of mixed nuts. I've gone for walnuts, coconut, flaked and chopped almonds. An extra half cup of coconut on top of that, half a cup of coconut oil, a quarter of a cup of honey it's suggested, but I'll use the agave nectar, which is better for you and has less GI. 2 tablespoons of vanilla essence and a cup of mixed fruit. Mixed fruit, I've gone for a nice mixture of apricots, pitted dates, prunes, pears and peaches. I thought to spice things up a little bit. Okay. I've already pre-made the dry mix, which is all the nuts, the dried fruit and the coconut together. For this recipe, it goes in your blender initially. You don't want to make this too fine, you want to make sure that the ingredients are left quite coarse, so you get that nutty flavour, and you don't want it to be too smooth. It's a bit tricky with the coconut, but gently spoon this into your processor. You ideally need to have a large mixing bowl on hand too. The dry fruit generally clumps together when you try to use it, but when it's processed it comes out good. So this mixture should make a nice big pan of this for you to keep in the fridge for a little while. There's no use by date as such, and you can also freeze it should you want to. Okay, so we're going to be pulsing this for a short while. The idea is to make sure everything's nice and evenly mixed. Nice and cool, not too fine. So the sort of consistency I'm going for mine, because I like a little bit of bite and a little bit of chunk of nut, is that sort of consistency. Okay. So over here, dry ingredients into a bowl, large mixing bowl if possible. And from there, we move on to the prep for other items. So the half cup of coconut oil and the half cup of almond butter goes in the microwave for 20 to 30 seconds. While that's getting ready, get your spatula and get ready for the mixture to be binding together. While that's in there as well, you can prep your quarter cup of agave nectar and your 2 tablespoons of your vanilla essence, which I've done in here. We're going to be mixing that together in a bowl. In goes the honey and the nectar. Mix them together slightly. In any second we should have our almond butter. It's melted with our coconut oil. The almond butter doesn't really change consistency, but you can feel that the mug is warm where the coconut oil is melted, so that's what we're after. The almond butter should have just changed consistency a little bit, not too much. So pour that all together in the bowl, quite gloopy, quite porridge-like actually, where the almond butter's just gone a little bit watery, and only get as much out as you can. Mix all that together in the bowl till it's all quite creamy. You may need to break down your almond butter a little bit. As we all know, when you get further into almond butter it becomes a little bit harder at the bottom of the container. So you might want to mix it up a little bit. Obviously you can add a little bit of walnut oil or nut oil if you want to make it a little bit more watery. So I'm just breaking down the almond butter at the moment, mixing it in with the coconut oil, the agave nectar and the vanilla. You do need to give it a little bit of pressure to mix it all in. As you can see, there's quite a few lumps in here still. You continue to have lumps. Obviously you can put it back in the microwave for a little while longer. So another 30 seconds or so. Just get the consistency just right. So ideally when you have your pan for doing this recipe, you want to have one that's got a removable bottom. It's going to go quite solid when it's in the fridge, when it sets. You don't want it to be breaking up into smaller pieces. So ideally a flan tin with a removable bottom on it. Also for an extra bit, once this is all mixed together, I'm going to chuck in a small amount of hotel chocolates, 70% dark chocolate pieces. I think they're about £5 or £6 for 400 grams, which if you're following paleo well and don't eat too much chocolate, that should last you quite a long time. So a handful of that just for a little treat on top as well. Okay, that's looking better now. Yeah, so maybe a little bit longer in the microwave, add another 20-30 seconds, and the almond butter really breaks down then. It's a lot easier to mix in with the coconut oil itself. A couple of little hard pieces, nothing to worry about. Okay, so now your large bowl, recommend a spatula, and we're going to mix all of this together. It smells fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. Again, get all that out of the bowl. Okay, so now just folding it in on itself, and I'd imagine it would be quite flapjack-like in appearance. It's not going to be in a very liquid state at all. It's going to be quite chunky. The recipe's done right, which is looking pretty good. I'll show you the end result in a second, so you can see how the mix is looking. And again, as you're doing this, you can adapt it as you go. If you find that the mix is a bit too stodgy and it's a bit too crumbly perhaps, then you can add some extra coconut oil, or you can add some extra almond butter depending on what tickles your fancy really. I may add a little bit extra coconut oil to this actually, just to get it so it's a little bit different in consistency. This will be very crunchy, but I might want it a little bit more liquid like for mine. You need to make sure you go over this pretty well. You do get small stages of dry matter mixed in, so you need to make sure you go through the mix really well to make sure everything's all moulded together nicely for your container afterwards. And take a couple of minutes of just going over it all. When I've done the spatula, just to make sure it's all mixed well, you could put it back in the food processor, but I like doing things by hand. What I do, just get a fork afterwards, just grate around with a fork, and that breaks up any clusters of dry nuts or coconut you might have in there still. I'm finding some now, so it does happen. Just mush it down with a fork, break it up, stir it all together, and that's looking pretty nice to me. So, end result so far is this. Okay, so it's not too sloppy, it's just got a little bit of hold in it where the fruit's binding together, and as stated before, I'm going to chuck in small amount, so fill it there. Was that 12 or 15? Chocolate white buttons, dark chocolate, good for the soul. And again, let's mix that in so it's nice even spread. You could sprinkle them on top afterwards for when it sets if you wanted to. I want mine throughout mine, so it's a little surprise as such. Obviously you're all aware that chocolate, the higher the cocoa rating, the better antioxidant qualities. So I'm using 70% today, that I mentioned earlier, is from Hotel Chocolate. Nothing's stopping you using a higher brand or a higher purity of chocolate. You can get the purest chocolate from Hotel Chocolate, which is 100% cocoa, which isn't for the faint-hearted, but if you use it in small pieces, it's very, very nice. Okay, so now mix into the container. So I think we'll fill this flan dish pretty well. end result of the mix, folks, is, like I said, it's almost like a peanut butter. So if you imagine like a sun-packed peanut butter that you might have had in your previous life, it's that sort of consistency. So a little bit, not runny, but a little bit of give in the mixture. I'm going to spooning this out. Go about there so you can actually see. I'm just spooning this out into here. Do it over the bowl. I'm not going to waste any of this. I think we're just going to have about the right amount, and this looks awesome. Absolutely awesome. So, for decoration, if you wanted to, if you're that bothered, you can put something on top of it if you really wanted to. You can keep it al fresco like it is now, or you can add anything to it you want, really. I may add some coconut to it, but I'm going to have a look and see how it comes out first when I've patted it all down and got it right. I might sprinkle a bit on just for appearance. And that's looking pretty awesome. So as you can see, this, for the amount of ingredients, it goes a hell of a long way. I mean, this should last you weeks and weeks. You're looking at it being a treat, unless you're having guests over, or also paleo, or you're taking it to your local gym to share out with your buddies. But ideally, you want to be having a piece of this as a treat once weekly. You don't want to be scoffing this all in a one-up, because you're going to end up the size of a house. Yeah, just about the right amount of give in this, so I'm glad I didn't add any more coconut oil to it in the end. And we're just looking for like a nice even shape on it. It's only for the appearance at the end, it doesn't do anything different. I just like to have the same size pieces. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist as well, so I like things to look pretty good. And that is looking pretty ace to me. So I'm just going to push the edges down a little bit, so you get that sort of nice tightness in the corners. If you don't have it tightly packed, it's likely to break away a little bit from the base and it will come out a little bit sloppy, which you don't want. That isn't looking too bad at all. Isn't looking too bad at all. So end result of the mixture is this. It smells fantastic, very almondy. And like I said, you can put whatever you want with it. You can add extra ingredients to it. I'll maybe put a bit of coconut on top. I've also got some ground almonds on hand as well. I like to sprinkle ground almonds on things a little bit, but this will be quite nutty as it is. So I'm just going to put a light bit of coconut on top, which hopefully will freeze into that and won't just break off. So a little bit of coconut on top, just to add the flavour a little bit. Don't worry about the mess. It comes off. There you go. And there we have it. Okay, so that's your almond butter slabs. So the idea of the slabs is basically just cut it up in chunks afterwards. From here, this needs to go in the fridge. It can go in the fridge or the freezer, really. I'm going to put it in the fridge for about an hour, and then I'll come back to you with the end result, and we'll cut it up and have a taste.